You're young, maybe in your 20s or 30s, and you see some videos and you find that some people are very happy in retirement. What are the things which are necessary, which you can do maybe even in your 20s or 30s to have a good, happy retirement? So the first thing, please understand, whatever people tell you about, every financial planner will tell you that you have to start early, invest regularly, etc. All that is true. But the most important thing for most of us who start life without too much of a silver spoon or a golden spoon or a diamond spoon, is you have to have one source of income through which you will build your wealth, and that source of income has to be your job or business or your practice or your profession, whatever. That has to be. So you will put all your efforts required to enhance that income. You will do everything that is necessary to have a high income, because only when you have a high income can you pay taxes and spend money and invest, right? So do all that. So first thing is to put in tremendous amount of effort required to increase your income. There is absolutely no doubt about that. If you have to slog your butt out, if you have to travel, if you have to migrate, whatever you have to do, all that is necessary to increase your income is necessary, because that is the greatest reason, greatest source through which you will increase your income. I'm assuming that you're not going to inherit anything or things like that. Then that will be your biggest source of wealth. The next thing that they do is they start behaving like they are rich. For example, when they have money, they will they earn well, they spend sensibly, they pay their taxes, and they invest aggressively. All this is necessary. Now for this, if it's a person who does not know how to live within their means, then you have to make a budget. Is it necessary for every one of us to make a budget? The answer is no. But if you think you're saving 25% of your income and you're happy with that number, don't make a budget, but at least measure what you're doing. If you are saving 25%, or if you think that you're saving 25% and you're actually saving 27%, great, you're already doing it. Then you don't need to worry. But there are some people who do not know how to live within their means. Then for such people, it is necessary that they surrender their credit cards, they make a budget, they make sure they see where they are exceeding the budget. They need to do all this. Not everybody needs to do all this. Some people need to do it because they don't know how to live within their means. Then because now when somebody is already living within their means, he or she is going to be able to invest, save a lot of money, and saving is far more difficult than investing. So once you save money, you have accumulated money, right? That money is lying maybe in the savings bank account or in an FD. You moved it into an FD, so that money is available for you to invest for retirement. Maybe 5-10% you put away just for retirement at a young age. Then as time goes by, you increase it to 15-17% of your income starts being put away just for your retirement. And once many of such people are very calm about investing, they don't have to worry. They don't worry about, oh, market has reached 50,000, what will happen? Market has reached 60,000, what will happen? Should I buy? Should I sell? They are not very active. They are very clear that they have a vision. They know what is going to happen, and they are very clearly focused on their vision, and they are making sure that it will happen. And for this to happen, like I said, the first step is to increase your income. Second step, or very important step, a very good rich habit, is to live way below your means, right? So not everybody knows how to live below their means, but it's something which they can learn. If they have not learned, they must learn. The sooner that you learn, the better it is. You will have enough money to save, stroke, invest, and that can happen only when you live way below your means. These are people who don't borrow for their expenses, never borrow for going on a trip to Goa or for going on a trip to Singapore. Now, these are not things for which you should be borrowing. So your borrowing has to be at best only for a house, and maybe for a car. Any other thing that does not make sense. In fact, there are young boys I know and boys and girls I know who have been told by the parents, you will not borrow for anything which is a which is a wasting asset, which means an asset which depreciates. So many of these children will not borrow to buy a car. They will use their own money and buy a small car. So makes sense, because if your asset is not appreciating, the fact that you're paying interest is going to hurt you more. So borrowing less will mean more money in your hands, and that more money in your hands will mean that you will be investing it sensibly. These are people who normally work with a good financial advisor who gives a goal and purpose to their money, so they know what they are doing, what they are saving. They don't have any requirement for the next 2-3 years. That money would be in equity. Whatever money they require in the next 2-3 years would be in debt. Then they would have insured themselves adequately, so that in case there is a medical emergency, they don't have to disturb their equity assets. Then they will have a good view and clarity on how their equity investment should move. Should it be through direct investments? Should it be through mutual funds, etc.? They pay a lot of attention to it, and because they understand equities, they understand markets, etc., they don't go and fall for somebody who comes and says, if you put your money here, in 3 years it will double, in 4 years it will double, and things like that. They don't fall for all these Teakwood scheme and ULIP where money will double in 2 years and 3 years kind of stuff which the bank RM tells you. You don't fall for such schemes, because when you fall for such schemes, you erode a lot of your capital which could have otherwise been used very intelligently. So protecting your capital, I mean protecting yourself by insurance, protecting your capital by taking medical insurance so that you don't have to disturb your portfolio in case of an emergency, right? Doing all these things are very simple things, but these are all things which ensure that your wealth creation journey remains uninterrupted, right? So they have proper documentation, they make a will, they make a plan, they explain to their wives and children. This is, I think, the most important thing. Communicate well within the family. Your family should know what you're investing, why you're investing, what you're going to do, what is the purpose, how are you going to fund children's expenses, how are you going to fund children's education, marriage, whatever. Communicate. Know why the family has term insurance. Your spouse should know that in case you die and you get a term insurance amount which may look very big today, you may have taken a 4 crore term insurance, but 10 years later it may not look as big as it does today. Explaining to her what she should do with the money, repay the loans if any, and doing all those things, explaining, talking, documenting, and all your assets is very important. So these are people who do all this. After you do all this, still things can go wrong, but the fact is you have at least taken the necessary steps involving taking your spouse and children above the age of 13-14 to your financial planner, sitting with him and or her and explaining to your family what you have done, and telling them that here is a will, here is a copy, I've left it with so and so. He is the financial planner, explaining the role of the financial planner. All that is pretty useful, making sure that your family understands what you're doing. Maybe some guardian understands, your younger brother, sister, parent, somebody, because in case something happens to you and your spouse, then the third person whom you have mentioned, you would have mentioned somebody as a trustee for your children, because you made a will when your children are minor, right? Involving that person, explaining, all this is very useful. Telling your financial professional what you want to happen to your assets and what your children should get, how it should get invested. Talking about all these things. So when you do all these things, it gives you peace of mind. The family knows what to expect, and then you put together a corpus which is required for your retirement, and then you're reasonably happy with your retirement. So these are all the steps. I've seen people I've taken some of these steps I have not taken. For example, I have not yet registered my will. I have a will, it is notarized but not yet registered. I'm telling myself that in case I sell this house and buy another house, I will register at that time. I don't know whether I made the last move of my life in a real estate point of view. So therefore, my last stage of registering the will is not yet done, but most of the other things I have done. So these are all the things which actually, when you take all these steps, it leads to a happy retirement. But the thing is, you never took all these steps for happy retirement, but these are all useful steps which will help you be happy in your retirement. Thank you.